Good morning, and what a cracking morning it is. We're at Bloody Oaks Quarry. What we're doing here, bee orchids. It's a kind of bee orchid tour part B. I'm going to do Bloody Oaks and I'm going to do Swaddywell just to wrap up the bee orchids for this season before they all vanish. I actually, when I did the bee orchid tour 10 days ago, I started here, but there was nothing, which is typical Bloody Oaks. You can come here and there's nothing. You can go 10 days later to the same site and there are bee orchids. So we are that 10 days on now. So I hope this is going to be a little better than the blank that I had previously. I had to go early on that bee orchid tour because I was off to South Wales the following week, which is when I would have done the bee orchid tour. So I was really too early. So these two sites is all about are the wasp orchids here at Bloody Oaks, and then on to Swaddywell to see if the Belgarum forms are there as well, and those two are the two I'm targeting today. So yeah, Bloody Oaks, let's go and have a look. There's one. There you go, bee orchid, variety trollii, better known as a wasp orchid. Something else down here. A second wasp orchid, just starting to go over, I think, although there's still a bud on there, but that bottom flower just starting to go a little bit browner than the sort of more vibrant yellow and reddish brown that you would get if it was freshly opened. But it looks like we're just about in time. I think there's a little tiny one behind it actually, if I can get round on the camera. Yeah, a little one. And another wasp orchid. Good old standard bee orchid. That's a nice richly coloured bee orchid. It's another wasp. Number 4. Glistening in the damp from last night's heavy rain. Yeah, that was good. 4 or 5, was it 5? I can't remember. 4 or 5 wasp orchids. Same number of bee orchids really at the top end of Bloody Oaks. Not as many as I've seen here before, but I wanted to see wasp orchids and I saw wasp orchids, so tick the box and be off next on the whistle stop bee orchid tour to Swaddywell pit, so I will see you there shortly. Swaddywell pit, bee orchid variety Belgarum, that's what I'm here for, and have a look to see how the bee orchids were. When we came down 10 days ago they just were not ready yet, just sneaking out. I'm expecting a lot better today. Maybe not as good as last year, but it should be a lot better than it was 10 days ago. But I want those Belgarums again. Ooh, nice bee orchids there. That's a clonker. Don't get to see too many of these tall bees in their prime. Nice. Go and see what's shown up in the hotspot. I can just at the moment see one Belgarum plant with twin stalks. Actually, it could be two separate plants side by side rather than twin stalks. But that's a variety Belgarum with the yellow sort of waistband. I think there's a better flower perhaps on the other side. I'll just spin round and have a look. Yeah, there's two plants side by side there, both Belgarum. I was expecting more, to be honest, but I've not finished looking yet. I can see another one. Bear with me while we spin around. That's a nice one. Looks like 3 Belgarum on the site this year, which is kind of the least of what I expected, but it's good to see they're still here battling on. They're all quite useful here, small plants. Hopefully they'll keep going. They're stuck in the corner here, so they're protected a little bit. That one is still emerging, but I'm pretty sure that's from the lower flower there, that's another Belgarum. Once it's sort of fluffed out a bit, that's going to be number 4. There's some real miniature bee orchids down here. I hope that means they've got good years ahead of them rather than they are struggling. I'll put my hand down next to that, you can see how small it is. Actually, while I'm sitting down here, there's another Belgarum, which is number 5, which is just opening. If I can get it in shot. Bear with me. Yeah, that lower one is just opening. Hasn't inflated yet, but it is a Belgarum, or will be a Belgarum. That's 5. Not bad. There's a few bee orchids sitting in the fringes here, which I've not actually noticed before. It's like the centre of the main site that was here last year has been reduced in stature, but around the edges you've still got bee orchids appearing. It's a nice clean plant. Another one. Yeah, that's pretty good. Can't complain with 5 Belgarum variations on the bee orchid all in one site. That was pretty good. Nowhere near the numbers of last year. It could be to do with the dry conditions. It could be. They do look like they're struggling a wee bit. But I think it's actually just the way bee orchid colonies work. As I've said before, you have the big bang year, which was last year, and then they just sort of go downhill. But that little patch in the corner with those young plants and the Belgarums, fingers crossed for that, because that could come back bigger and better next year, because they are young plants but they could vanish as well. That could disappear. So I've got a lot of fingers crossed on that one. We'll be back next year to see how they do, and I'd love to think they'll kick on. Right, I'm heading up towards the top field now. I'm just going to stray into that to see if I can find any up here. Not going to spend too long on it, but we'll see if there's any lurking around up here. There was some on this corner last year, half a dozen or so, but I didn't see any when I looked 10 days ago. Be easier to spot them now as the flowers are going to be out, if that's not stating the obvious. Oh, there's one down there. Couple of young plants there sitting side by side. I notice they've all got these blackened leaves. Back down on the lower field they had these blackened leaves. Whether that's a drought thing, I don't know, or whether it's just a natural thing that occurs, I'm not sure. I'm sure I've mentioned again this part of Swaddywell right at the top field. I mean, 8-9 years ago I have photographs that show bee orchids here, literally 150, 200 strong. It was an incredible sight. I described it at the time as the best bee orchid site I'd ever seen. They were all over this part of Swaddywell. Now you have to search for them, and search hard for them. It's hard to find any. I found one that's only just struggling to open, and that's all I've seen so far. It's a shame really, but that's how they work. They come, they make an impact, and they drift away. They never stick around. One of the things I noticed from the photographs 8 or 9 years ago was most of this upper field looked like this, you know, almost brownfield site, whereas now it looks more like that. It's not about the grass being too long. You know, grass is going to move in, even if you graze it, it's still going to be there. There's still going to be a carpet of grass rather than bare soil, which is what the bees I think like. Having said that, I can't find any in here either. Oh, I can. Spoke too soon. There's one down here hiding timidly amongst the brambles. He's got his own parasol there to keep out the sun. And there's actually another one behind it. Bear with me. They're all hiding. They know I'm coming to see them. I don't know if this proves my point or what, but in this sort of scrubby brown field area of Swaddywell, you've got a collection of bee orchids here. This is what it used to be like, right across this top end. Well, I counted 9 young, or little at least, they may not be young, but small bee orchids, 9 of them in that little bush that was about 2 foot square, so they can still be here in numbers if they like where their footings are, and they undoubtedly like these sort of brownfield, patchy, ugly sites growing on open dirt more than they do trying to grow out of the grass where it's too competitive. But yeah, it's not a criticism, you know. Swaddywell's a big site, they can't crop the whole thing down each year. There'll always be some bee orchids up here, you just got to look for them a bit more now, but look for those brown scrubby sites rather than in the grass, because you'll find more, it would seem. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. A few more bee orchids there and up at Bloody Oaks, so that's bees done for this year. Not too bad. Next trip, where am I going to go? I think I'm due at Roberts Field, just in case something turns up. There was a near rhodochilla there last year, so I'm not going to set myself goals, but it's always an interesting site. So we'll head up north of Stamford to Roberts Field, and I'll see you there.